Hey guys, tonight we explore the quiet wonders of boring science for sleep. How melted butter transforms a fluffy pancake. Picture yourself lifting a steaming stack of golden pancakes, the edges whispering tiny crackles as warm butter meets their surface. You probably won't resist another batch. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments so we can share this buttery reverie across the globe. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You pick up a pat of butter straight from the refrigerator, its surface firm and pale. As soon as it touches the hot pancake, the solid stick begins a mesmerizing transformation into a flowing amber ribbon. Mainstream food science tells us that butter is a water in oil emulsion, roughly 80% fat, 16 to 18% water, and 1–2% milk proteins, and that heat melts the fat crystals at around 32 to 35 degrees C, allowing that silky liquid to form in seconds. Chemists still debate whether slight compositional differences between grass-fed and grain-fed butter significantly shift melting point by even a fraction of a degree. But tonight, you let that question melt away. Light joke number 1. If only your ex could transition from cold shoulder to warm embrace this quickly, alas. Some relationships stay stuck below melting point. You watch glossy liquid pool and spread, the water content sizzling into steam and carrying tiny droplets into the air. Quirky food bloggers swear that adding a pinch of sea salt on the surface before melting amplifies flavor perception by creating micro-explosions of saline steam, a fringe tip with no rigorous data, but one you file away for future late-night experiments. As the butter spreads, you notice how it clings to every pore and ridge of the pancake surface. That immediate adhesion stems from the melt's low viscosity and the pancake's porous crumb structure. Mainstream physics shows that capillary action draws liquid into microscopic pores without any stirring. Chemists still debate whether pancake batters with slightly higher sugar content yield larger pores for deeper butter infiltration. But you let that cozy uncertainty linger in your mind. You lean in for a slow, grounding breath, smelling the warm dairy sweetness dancing with toasty pancake aroma. The butter's small water droplets vaporize on contact, creating a gentle hiss, one of those subtle sensory details that anchors you in the present. Light. Joke number 2, imagine if your Wi-Fi signal were as efficient instant spread, no buffering required. Your spoon taps the side of the pat, coaxing it toward the pancake's center. You track the motion, the leading edge a molten crest that flattens into gentle rivulets, the trailing edge a soft rollback where butter pools and settles. Mainstream chefs note that the thermal conductivity of butter, 0.1 WEMC, is lower than water but higher than air, so it helps distribute heat into the pancake's interior just enough to keep every bite uniformly warm. Meanwhile, some culinary tinkerers claim that pre-melting butter over low heat before pouring yields a more uniform layer, another open debate phrase to drift on as you exhale. You close your eyes and tip your head back, tasting a faint buttery note already expanding. The residual bits of solid fat cling to the ridge of your spoon, creating a tiny sculpture of gloss against matte pancake. Chemists still debate whether trace milk proteins in cultured butter contribute to a slightly more buttery aroma via Maillard-like interactions at low temperatures, but you tuck that thought away. Light joke number 3, if only your morning to-do list could melt away this effortlessly 1 minute later, you'd be done. In this opening act, you've seen how a simple solid-to-liquid phase change sets the stage. Melting butter instantly adapts its form, clings to every crevice, and primes the pancake for deeper transformations. You're warmed by the visual, calmed by the gentle hiss of steam, and curious about the alchemy beneath the surface. With your spoon set aside and the melted pat glistening, you're ready to dive into Section 2's Composition Symphony, where we'll dissect how butter's fats, water, and proteins orchestrate the pancake's flavor and texture in a delicately balanced ensemble. You lift a fork and slide it through the molten butter pooling on your pancake, marveling at how this simple spread is a miniature symphony of molecules. Butter isn't just a uniform fat. It's an intricate emulsion comprising roughly 80% milk fat, 16 to 18% water droplets, and 1–2% milk proteins, each component playing its own melodic role in texture and flavor. Mainstream dairy science tells us that milk fat contains over a dozen distinct fatty acids, palmitic, oleic, and stearic among them, each with different melting points that collectively give butter its smooth melt profile. Chemists still debate whether subtle shifts in fatty acid ratios from grass-fed versus grain-fed cows significantly alter mouthfeel. But tonight, you let that question remain a soft hum in the background. As your fork tip breaks into the pale yellow butter, you notice its creamy consistency, neither too fluid nor too stiff. That balance comes from precisely controlled churn rates during butter production. The mechanical agitation coalesces fat globules into larger clusters while trapping tiny water droplets in between. Quirky artisanal churners sometimes play music during the churning process, claiming that classical strings produce the creamiest texture. Though studies on musical fermentation are about as rare as a pancake without butter, it's a fringe tidbit that adds charm to your late-night mental recipe book. Light joke number 1. If only your team meetings had well-churned rhythms instead of turning into free-for-all chatter, maybe everyone would stick together better. You lean in for a slow breath, inhaling the gentle butter aroma mingling with the caramelized pancake scent. The proteins in butter, mostly casein fragments, lend a faint dairy note that deepens during cooking. Mainstream chefs know that these proteins assist in browning reactions when butter contacts hot surfaces, contributing to that irresistible toasty flavor. Some culinary tinkerers insist that cultured butter, with its tangy lactic acid buildup from fermentation, creates richer umami undertones, though chemists still debate whether cultured proteins or added cultures themselves drive the flavor boost. You tuck that open debate phrase into your sensory notebook for another warm morning. Your fork drags through the butter pancake interface, and you feel a gentle resistance as the slightly viscous fat clings to the tender crumb. Butter's unique rheology, a combination of its triglyceride crystal network and suspended water droplets, allows it to coat irregular surfaces evenly. Mainstream food engineers measure its yield stress to predict spreadability. Too low, and the butter runs off your pancake. Too high, and it feels waxy. But sometimes, fringe home cooks recommend squeezing butter through a garlic press to aerate it before melting, claiming it flows more softly, an experiment you might save for a lazy Sunday brunch. Light joke number 2. If only you could press your to-do list through a garlic press and aerate away your responsibilities, life would be delightfully fluffy. You pause, tasting a forkful of butter-slick pancake. The creamy fat cushions your taste buds, smoothing out acidity and rounding sharper flavors. Mainstream sensory researchers observe that fats carry fat-soluble aroma compounds more efficiently than water. delivering flavor in gentle waves. Meanwhile, rumor has it that some chefs add a whisper of lecithin before churning butter to increase its emulsifying power, but evidence for that practice remains purely anecdotal, a delightful fringe notion to file under kitchen myths. Your eyes trace the delicate sheen of melted butter glistening on pancake peaks. That sheen results from thin layers of fat crystals that haven't fully melted, catching light and giving a subtle sparkle. Mainstream pastry experts note that these tiny crystals melt just above room temperature, delaying complete liquidity and offering a slight textural contrast. Chemists still debate whether adding a pinch of lecithin or even a drop of neutral oil improves crystal stability, but you set that thought aside for tonight's peaceful pause. Light joke number 3, if only your Monday mornings came with a sheen of sparkle instead of a solid block of meeting invites, alas, some weeks never fully melt. You fold the pancake slightly, watching butter seep deeper into the fluffy interior. Capillary action and gravity pull the liquid into air pockets created by leavening agents like baking powder and steam bubbles. Mainstream bakery science tells us that ideal pancake batter has about 10–15% protein content to form just enough structure to hold pockets without becoming gummy. Yet some fringe bakers insist that adding egg yolk sculptures into the batter produces larger air cells for more dramatic butter infusion, a whimsical claim that adds to your dreamy pancake lore. As you lift another bite, you note how the butter's water droplets turn to steam on contact with hot pancake surfaces, tiny bursts that carry savory molecules skyward. That gentle sizzle is the water phase escaping, and it helps carry volatile flavor compounds, another mainstream fact that explains why your kitchen smells so irresistibly warm. Some aroma fanatics recommend trapping that steam under a glass dome for a few seconds to intensify the scent, though there's scant scientific consensus on whether it truly concentrates aroma or merely makes cleanup harder, a debate worthy of your mindful consideration. Your spoon and fork rest momentarily, and you tap the edge of the plate, imagining you're conducting this symphony of creamy notes. The interplay of fat, water, and protein has turned an ordinary pancake into a dynamic, living canvas of science and flavor. You feel a soft contentment settle in your chest, like a slow chord resolving. In this composition symphony, you've uncovered how butter's constituents, varying fats, suspended water, and delicate proteins collaborate to sculpt texture, aroma, and mouthfeel. You've heard quirky claims about musical churning and lecithin whispers, and you've held open questions about cultured enhancements and protein roles. Each tidbit has enriched your understanding of what's happening beneath the surface of your simple breakfast delight. Now, with your senses attuned to butter's molecular orchestra, you're ready to explore how heat conduction harmonizes warmth throughout this fluffy pancake in Section 3, ensuring each bite carries that perfect buttery glow. You press your fork gently into the fluffy pancake, feeling its soft interior yield like a cloud. And you notice how that molten butter isn't just sitting on the surface, it's waltzing its warmth deep into every air pocket. Mainstream heat transfer science tells us that butter's thermal conductivity of approximately 0.1 K allows it to carry heat farther into the pancake than air alone, gently raising the internal temperature by several degrees within seconds. Chemists still debate whether the granular structure of butter crystals or the entrapped water droplets play the bigger role in that conductivity, but you let that question drift away like a wisp of steam. Your fork pulls up a forkful, and you watch molten butter seep into the pancake's tiny alveoli, microscopic air chambers created by leavening agents. Those air pockets, filled originally by carbon dioxide from baking powder and steam from the batter, now act as miniature conduits, channeling warmth from the buttery rivulets deeper into the cake. Fringe home cooks sometimes recommend gently tapping the pancake's underside with a warm spoon to redistribute heat evenly, a quirky tip that feels like you're coaxing the pancake awake. Light joke number 1: if only your phone's battery warmed up as uniformly, it tends to heat hotspots like a medieval torture device. As the pancake interior warms, you notice a subtle change in texture. The crumb structure loosens ever so slightly, becoming more tender and yielding beneath your fork. Mainstream food chemists explain that proteins in the flour matrix denature as temperature climbs, relaxing the network and allowing starch granules to swell fully. This gelatinization effect softens the crumb, while butter keeps it moist, preventing dryness. Meanwhile, some fringe bakers swear by microwaving briefly on low power to shock heat the pancake from within, claiming it yields an almost soufflé-like fluffiness, an open debate phrase you tuck into your mental cookbook. You take a slow, luxurious bite, noting the comforting warmth radiating through your mouth and down your throat. That comforting sensation comes not just from the butter, but from heat conduction as warmth spreads inside. Sensory nerves detect gradual temperature increases, activating those cozy endorphins that whisper relax to your brain. Quirky wellness bloggers suggest wrapping your stack in a heated ceramic plate for a minute before serving, saying it creates a thermal blanket effect, though evidence for improved warmth retention is largely anecdotal. Light joke number 2: imagine if your office chair could conduct warmth as well, you'd never complain about a cold meeting room again. You pause for a moment, setting down your fork to watch the pancake steam rise in gentle spirals. That steam originates partly from water in the butter turning to vapor upon contact, and partly from residual moisture in the pancake. Mainstream chefs know that a pancake's moisture content, ideally around 20% by weight, ensures even heat distribution without making it soggy. Chemists still debate whether adding a teaspoon of cider vinegar to the batter changes that moisture profile enough to affect heat flow. But you let that question hover in the background. As you resume eating, you track how each next bite feels slightly warmer than the last, a testament to butter's ability to conduct heat from the surface inward. It's almost as if the pancake breathes warmth, exhaling it bite by bite. Fringe science enthusiasts sometimes experiment with embedding edible heat packs, tiny hot gel packets beneath the pancake stack, to extend the warm sensation for hours. A playful idea that keeps you smiling at the absurdity. Your spoon lifts a final piece, and you marvel at the pancake's core. No cold centers remain, only gentle warmth that feels like a soft hug in your chest. Mainstream thermal engineering principles would applaud the pancake's low thermal diffusivity, which allows surface heat to spread slowly, avoiding sudden hotspots. This gradient prevents scalding while maintaining a uniformly warm bite. Quirky gadget lovers attach miniature thermocouples to their griddles, measuring heat distribution in real time, an intriguing fringe method that speaks to the obsessive side of culinary science. Light joke number 3: if only your car's engine could distribute heat this evenly, you'd never have to sit through that cold start shiver again. You lean back in your chair, letting the buttery warmth linger on your tongue. In this heated dance, the simple physics of conduction and the complex biology of taste converge, guiding each bite toward comfort and calm. You reflect on how that same heat conduction principle influences everything from engine blocks to human tissue warming pads, an all-encompassing truth hidden in your breakfast treat. Your gaze drifts to the pancake stack, now reduced to a single glossy smear of butter on a cooling surface. You notice how the remaining warmth radiates outward, slowly bleeding into the plate and the table. This gradual energy transfer mirrors your own physiological unwinding, as butter's heat conduction helps lower stress by signaling parasympathetic activation in your nervous system. Mainstream sleep researchers note that a warm sensory input before bed can ease the transition to sleep, though some fringe sleep gurus recommend a warm, buttered nap technique, spreading butter on the eyelids for a buttery blackout effect, a tip you regard with amused skepticism. As the plate cools, you press your fingertip gently into the residual butter, feeling the gentle warmth give way to coolness. You swirl it across your skin, a tactile reminder of heat's journey from stovetop to pancake to plate. It's a mini meditation on energy flow, a quiet testament to how everyday actions embody scientific truths. You set your finger aside and take a final mindful breath, appreciating the warm afterglow. The heat that butter conducted into your food has also warmed your spirit, coaxing a slow smile and unhurried sigh. You reach for a glass of cool water, letting the contrast heighten your awareness of warmth's gentle power. With the lingering comfort of heat conduction anchoring your senses, you're primed to explore golden spread dynamics in Section 4, where liquid butter's graceful flow into every pore will reveal its own secret choreography. You tip the pancake slightly, watching molten butter glide like a molten river into every pore and crevice of the golden surface, tracing etched pathways across fluffy ridges. Mainstream food physics tells us that low-viscosity liquids spread by capillary action, drawing butter into microscopic channels within the crumb at speeds up to several millimeters per second. Chemists still debate whether the pancake's exact pore size distribution or the butter's crystal network plays a larger role in that wicking speed. But tonight, you let that nuance drift in the background as you observe. Your fingertip hovers above a rivulet of butter filling a tiny crevice. As soon as you touch it, the liquid pulls away, leaving a glistening trail behind, proof that surface tension gradients drive the flow from thicker pools toward drier regions. Quirky home chefs sometimes blow gently on one side of the pancake to encourage directional spreading, convinced it creates perfect coverage, though evidence for butter bristling remains entirely anecdotal. A fringe tip you tuck into your mental recipe book. Light joke number 1: if only your email inbox could wisp unread messages away with a gentle breeze, no more overflowing folders. You lean in and notice how the butter collects in the pancake's little valleys, forming tiny amber lakes that shimmer under the soft kitchen light. That accumulation stems from variations in surface energy butter spreads until it reaches regions where the crumb's hydrophilicity balances the fat's cohesive forces. Mainstream surface chemistry studies show that porous, starch-rich surfaces have higher wettability than compact protein matrices, guiding liquid distribution. Yet some artisanal pancake makers insist that adding a dash of cornstarch to the batter increases micro-valley depth, creating dramatic butter canyons, another open debate phrase drifting through your late-night musings. As the butter continues its silent voyage, you notice how it forms a thin film even on the highest peaks. That film owes its existence to Marangoni flow, where temperature or concentration gradients drive fluid from warmer to cooler areas. In this case, slightly warmer pancake spots funnel butter toward cooler edges, evening out the distribution. Fringe thermal cooks claim that sliding an ice cube briefly over the pancake's rim intensifies that gradient for ultra-uniform coverage, an experiment you might save for an impulsive weekend. Light joke number 2, if only your socks could self-organize into pairs by gradient magic, doing laundry would feel like Cloud 9. Each butter rivulet glides into adjacent pores, pulling air bubbles along with it in a miniature fluidic chariot ride. You recall the air pocket conduits from Section 3 now filled with liquid fat instead of hot vapor. The contrast between those airy voids and the rich buttery fill creates a gentle textural contrast, a soft cushion beneath your bite. Mainstream textural analysis reveals that partially filled pores yield an ideal combination of tenderness and moisture retention, making each mouthful both light and luscious. Some fringe culinary alchemists posit that soaking the pancake briefly in melted ghee rather than butter yields superior pore penetration. Though evidence remains elusive, yet another delightful point for future debate. Your fork nudges a ridge, and a thin film of butter clings to its tines before sliding back into a nearby valley. The dynamics of that adhesion reflect butter's yield stress. It behaves like a very soft solid until a slight force liquefies it, allowing it to move. Mainstream rheology tells us that butter's complex viscosity curve under shear makes it an ideal spread, stable at rest, fluid under gentle pressure. Meanwhile, some experimental cooks whirl their batter with a handheld mixer to introduce microbubbles that amplify pore connectivity for deeper butter infusion. A fringe practice. You file under playful experimentation. Light joke number 3, if only your alarm clock released microbubbles of motivation into your brain before you rolled out of bed, waking up would be a buttery breeze. You pause and breathe in the warm, rich aroma emanating from those butter-filled crevices. You remember the aromatic release cascade from Section 8 and Section 7's flavor burst mechanics. Now the oil trapped in pores releases slowly, creating an extended olfactory experience. Those butter-filled valleys act as aroma reservoirs, slowly exhaling scent as you eat. Mainstream gastronomy notes that porous food matrices increase flavor retention by up to 30%, giving you sustained pleasure. Fringe aroma designers even embed scented beads in the batter, releasing fragrance as butter fills the pores, but that remains more gimmick than gourmet. As you lift a bite to your lips, you feel the satisfying give of a fully infused ridge, where air, crumb, and butter converge in perfect harmony. The buttery film coats your tongue, lubricating each taste bud, while tender crumb bursts release warm steam against the roof of your mouth. That tactile interplay exemplifies the power of precise liquid dynamics, transforming a simple pancake into a multi-sensory masterpiece. You set down your fork and run a fingertip along a line of butter still trickling along the edge. The coolness of your skin against the warm fat highlights the temperature gradient that initially powered the marangoni flow. You marvel at how everyday physics underpins such small, intimate pleasures. In this gentle study of golden spread dynamics, you've seen how molten butter navigates a complex landscape guided by capillary action, surface tension gradients, and subtle thermal forces to deliver comfort deep into each bite. The pancake's pores, once mere voids of air, become reservoirs of warmth and flavor, making every forkful a union of science and serenity. With a final soft sigh, you lean back, feeling a wave of contentment spread through your body, just as butter did through your pancake. You're primed to explore Maillard emulsification in Section 5, where butter's moisture will spark those toasty browning wonders. You tilt your fork, glimpsing the pancake's golden surface where butter's moisture meets toasted batter. And you notice tiny amber flecks shimmering at the edges, proof that Maillard reactions are in full swing. Mainstream culinary science tells us that these browning reactions occur when reducing sugars in the pancake interact with amino acids, forming complex flavor compounds at temperatures above 140 degrees Celsius. Butter's water content, around 16 to 18%, delivers pockets of steam that locally boost surface temperature, accelerating those toasty browning reactions. Chemists still debate whether water and oil emulsions promote more uniform Maillard development than dry fats. But for now, you let the thought hover like a delicate steam plume. As melted butter pools in crater-like dimples, you observe how the pancake's porous ridges darken first, those thin projections heating faster than flat areas. Quirky pastry chefs sometimes spray a fine mist of butter-flavored oil over pancakes, mid-cook to simulate extra Maillard coloring, a fringe tip with no formal studies, but one you tuck into your mental cookbook for a future late-night experiment. Light joke number 1: if only your high school yearbook photos browned so evenly, you'd look flawless decades later. Alas, time is an unforgiving chef. You lean in to inhale the rich aroma, nutty, toasty, with just a hint of caramel warmth. That scent bouquet is a direct result of Maillard byproducts like pyrazines and furans, which form more readily in the presence of moisture. Mainstream flavor chemists note that too little water leaves reactions sluggish, while too much steam can cool the surface and stall browning and intricate balance that your butter helps maintain. Some culinary tinkerers advocate brushing the pancake with whey protein solution before cooking to boost amino acid availability, claiming it yields darker crusts, but chemists still debate whether added proteins outperform native batter proteins. You test a ridge with the fork tip, and the edge snaps with a gentle crisp, releasing a subtle crunch before yielding to tender crumb. That crispy margin is the hallmark of optimal Maillard progression, thin enough to brown fully, but not char. Mainstream texture analysis shows that those browned surfaces also add a pleasant contrast to the pancake's soft interior, making each bite more dynamic. Meanwhile, some fringe waffle aficionados insist that soaking their baked goods in a brine of sugar and amino acids overnight leads to hyper-Maillard effects, an idea almost as sweet as it sounds. Light joke number 2: if only your to-do list developed crispy edges and tender middles, tackling tasks would be immeasurably more satisfying. You close your eyes and let your senses drift on the layered textures, the crisped crust, the buttery sheen, and the fluffy crumb beneath. The butter's water-rich pockets create tiny steam jets that momentarily lift surface sugars and proteins apart, enhancing their chemical dance. Mainstream food engineers sometimes use high-speed cameras to capture micro-explosions of steam during baking, though capturing pancakes in flight is a fleeting challenge. Fringe kitchen scientists have attempted infrared imaging to measure hotspots in real time, though the results tend to look more abstract art than practical data. The pancake's shimmering surface undulates lightly as residual steam escapes, carrying the bouquet of Maillard aromas into the air. You realize that each breath draws in molecules that were born in those bubbling butter pockets mere moments ago. Chemists still debate whether the ratio of steam to lipid at the surface preferentially releases certain aroma compounds, a question that lingers like a cooling droplet. You take a deliberate bite of the browned ridge, letting its crisp edge meet your tongue. The initial crunch preludes a wave of deep, roasted sweetness, almost like toasted hazelnut, followed by gentle warmth from the butter beneath. That textural interplay is a direct result of butter's dual role aiding heat transfer and supplying moisture for Maillard chemistry. Quirky taste testers claim that adding a dash of soy sauce to batter introduces extra amino acids for intensified browning, though chefs still debate whether this umami boost is worth the savory detour in a sweet breakfast. Light joke number 3. If only your email spam filter browned unwanted messages right off the page. Cleaning your inbox would be a culinary delight. You pause, recalling Section 4's golden rivulets filling crevices and Section 2's butter composition symphony. Now, everything converges in this Maillard crescendo moisture, heat, and proteins collaborating in an edible fireworks display. You watch a tiny stream of butter-tinged steam rise from the surface, arc gracefully, and vanish into the night air. It's a private spectacle, as ephemeral as a flickering candle flame. Your fork lifts another piece, and you notice the pattern of browning varies subtly across the pancake, darker rings where butter pools most deeply, lighter bands where thin films spread quickly. Mainstream food scientists map these gradients to understand flavor distribution, using colorimetric scales to quantify Maillard intensity. Some adventurous home cooks have even tried painting pancakes with food-safe pH dyes to visualize reaction zones, a creative fringe exercise that yields rainbow breakfasts more than gastronomic insights. You set the fork aside and breathe deeply, letting the layered aromas and textures settle around you like a gentle embrace. The Maillard reaction, often studied in industrial ovens, feels deeply personal here, unfolding on a humble pancake in your cozy kitchen. It's science in slow motion, an edible poem composed of molecules and heat. As the last wisps of steam curl upward, you feel a calm satisfaction, a soft warmth that radiates through your chest. You're grounded in the present, buoyed by the quiet chemistry of browning and steam. With your senses awakened yet pacified, you're ready to explore Section 6's flavor carrier mechanics, where butter lipids will ferry those toasty notes around the entire pancake canvas. You pick up your fork and slice into the pancake, watching butter-slick crumbs cling to each tine, and you realize that melted butter isn't just a flavor enhancer, it's the ultimate carrier vehicle for aroma and taste compounds. Mainstream sensory science tells us that many key flavor molecules in cooking are lipophilic, meaning they dissolve more readily in fats than in water. Butter's triglyceride matrix thus acts like a molecular taxi, shuttling buttery, nutty, and sweet notes deep into every bite. Chemists still debate whether variations in fatty acid chain length from different cow breeds influence how efficiently those compounds bind and release. But tonight, you let that question float gently on your breath. As you lift a forkful to your lips, you notice how the pancake tastes richer, where butter pooled most deeply, a direct result of lipid solubility. Volatile aroma molecules hitch a ride in fat droplets, protected from rapid evaporation, then gradually seep out as temperature drops, extending each aromatic whisper. Fringe food enthusiasts claim that infusing butter with crushed vanilla bean before melting boosts this transport, though rigorous taste panels remain undecided. Light joke number 1. If only your car's GPS worked this efficiently, never losing flavor detours or calorie traffic jams. You pause, inhaling the warm scent that rises from your plate. That scent is courtesy of butter's tiny lipid droplets, which encapsulate aroma compounds like hexanal for grassy notes or diacetyl for that buttery richness. Mainstream aroma chemistry shows that encapsulation slows compound degradation, preserving freshness. In contrast, spraying pure flavor extracts directly on food can create an overwhelming initial hit, followed by a dull aftertaste. Yet some experimental chefs insist on emulsifying essential oils into pancake batter for a hyper-intense aroma blast, an open debate phrase you tuck into your mental spice cabinet. Your fork traces a gummy ridge where butter lipids have mixed with pancake starches, creating tiny pockets of fat that burst under gentle pressure. That bursting releases concentrated taste molecules right at the moment of chewing, enhancing perceived sweetness and rounding out acidity. Mainstream taste science explains that fats modulate taste receptor activity by altering compound solubility at the tongue's surface. Meanwhile, fringe tinkerers have tried mixing pancake batter with clarified butter to remove water and proteins, theorizing that pure fat carriers deliver a more potent flavor punch, though most tasters report a greasier mouthfeel with little added benefit. Light joke number 2, if only your email notifications carried your best jokes directly to your brain, no buffering, just instant laughter. You reflect on the composition symphony from section 2, those milk proteins blend with fats to stabilize emulsions, ensuring aroma compounds remain suspended until heat releases them. Butter's lecithin and phospholipids disperse fat droplets evenly throughout the pancake matrix, preventing greasy hotspots and ensuring every forkful tastes consistent. Chemists still debate whether adding extra lecithin or sunflower emulsifiers before cooking enhances aroma delivery. But you let that experimentally minded thought linger as you savor each bite. Your tongue detects a subtle shift in texture and flavor as the forkful dissolves a wave of rich creaminess, followed by a gentle burst of browned sugar sweetness from your Maillard-rich ridges. That interplay owes itself to butter lipids drawing Maillard byproducts into the batter's interior during Section 5's browning phase, creating an integrated flavor mosaic. Quirky home cooks sometimes suggest whisking melted butter and pancake scraps into a flavored butter slurry to recoat each pancake post-cook, maximizing flavor carrier contact, a fringe trick you note for a potential taste experiment. Light joke number 3. If only your morning meetings could be transformed into a butter slurry of ideas. Smooth, well-mixed, and easily digestible. As you swallow, you feel warmth radiate through your chest, not just from heat conduction section 3, but from the lingering fatty acids' soothing activation of gut receptors. Mainstream gastroenterologists observe that fats stimulate cholecystokinin release, promoting satiety and relaxation, part of why a buttery bite feels comforting rather than just indulgent. Yet some wellness bloggers advocate supplementing with medium-chain triglyceride oil for a rapid relaxation effect. Though clinical evidence on its sleep-inducing properties is thin, a debate you tuck away in your mental library of open questions. Sans pépin. You set the fork aside and gaze at the pancake's surface, noting how remnants of butter shimmer in shallow pools. Those pools represent reservoirs of dissolved flavor compounds, slowly diffusing outward as you eat. Mainstream diffusion theory describes how concentration gradients drive molecular movement from high-fat zones into surrounding areas, ensuring even flavor distribution. Some avant-garde cooks have used molecular gastronomy techniques encapsulating flavor compounds in liposomes and spraying them post-cook to achieve targeted bursts. But most agree it's more science demonstration than dinner party trick. Remember how golden spread dynamics in section 4 showed capillary action pulling butter into pores? Now you see that same mechanism drawing flavor-laden lipids into microscopic pancake crevices, creating a symphony of taste release. Each bite becomes a layered experience: crisp rim, tender crumb, and a rich, lingering finish. You inhale again and notice the aroma persists even after you exhale, a testament to butter's carrier role. The tiny lipid droplets cling to your plate's surface microscopically, reflecting light like faint amber microbeads. As you lean back, you feel a wave of contentment, a slow crescendo of flavor and warmth that settles your mind. In this section, you've uncovered how butter lipids function as courier, capsule, and reservoir for the pancake's flavor and aroma compounds, transforming each forkful into a multi-dimensional experience. You've enjoyed fringe tips from vanilla infusions to lecithin whispers, and you've held open debates about fat composition and emulsifier roles. Each element deepens your appreciation for the quiet science beneath this simple breakfast delight. With flavor fully coursing through your senses, you're poised to explore Section 7's tenderness transformation, where melted butter's magic will soften crumb structure and elevate pancake fluffiness to new heights. You bring your fork to the edge of the pancake and press down gently, feeling the buttery softness beneath your tine. Molten butter isn't just carrying aroma and flavor, it's also a tenderizing agent, softening the crumb and elevating that classic pancake fluffiness. Mainstream food science tells us that fats interfere with gluten and starch networks, shortening their strands and reducing toughness. This shortening effect means each bite feels more delicate and yielding. Chemists still debate whether butter's water content or its crystallized fat network contributes more to this tenderization. But tonight, you let that question flutter away like a gentle steam plume. As you slice into the pancake, you notice how the butter-laden crumbs almost melt under pressure, collapsing softly rather than resisting. That collapse is the hallmark of a well-shortened butter molecules wedge between protein chains, preventing them from forming long, elastic strands. Quirky bakers sometimes swear by butter curdling, the batter chilling solid butter chunks in the mixer to create flaky pockets before cooking. Though the idea remains a playful fringe technique rather than a tested kitchen rule. Light joke number 1: if only your daily to-do list could be softened by a little bit of butter, life's stress would crumble away in no time. You lean in for a slow breath, inhaling the gentle aroma of toasted butter and warming dough. That deep inhale reminds you of the flavor burst mechanics from Section 6. But here, the sensation is tactile. You can almost feel the tender crumb collapse against your tongue before the taste even arrives. Mainstream texture analysis shows that pancakes with 15 to 20% added fat yield the most tender crumb, but go much higher, and you risk a greasy mouthfeel. Meanwhile, some experimental cooks insist on adding cream cheese dollops into the batter, claiming the extra dairy creates an even more pillowy softness, a fringe claim that invites both curiosity and caution. Your fork lifts a fluffy wedge to your lips. You notice that the pancake's interior, once a network of tiny air cells, now has slightly larger, more irregular pockets where butter pooled during cookings. Those enlarged cells result from steam and melted fat, expanding together, a mainstream fact supported by the physics of bubble coalescence under heat. Chemists still debate whether optimal bubble enlargement occurs at specific fat-to-water ratios, or if it's purely a function of cooking temperature. But you let that technicality rest as you savor the next mouthful. Light joke number 2. If only your inbox could expand to swallow all your emails and then gently collapse afterward, email anxiety would be a thing of the past. As you bite down, the contrast between crisp edge and tender interior becomes evident the perimeter offers a slight resistance before giving way to an airy, butter-infused core. This textural duet is why pancake edges are often called the golden comfort zones. Mainstream pastry chefs know that proper fat distribution ensures this edge-center contrast, but some adventurous home cooks argue for flipping mid-cook, then pressing a second pat of butter on the untouched side, a fringe maneuver that risks uneven browning but promises extra tenderness. You pause to listen to the faint hiss of steam escaping as your teeth break through the crumb. That hiss mirrors the fragile life cycle of bubbles from Section 8. But here it's a reassuring sigh of moisture and fat working together. The moisture retained by the butter's water phase keeps the crumb from drying out, while the fat blocks excessive starch retrogradation, delaying staleness. Some food scientists suggest that adding emulsifiers like lecithin further stabilizes moisture. But chemists still debate whether such additives truly outperform natural butter matrices. You tuck that open debate phrase into your sensory journal for another reflective moment. Your fork pauses mid-air, and you notice how the pancake seems to breathe tiny plumes of steam rising from its surface as warmth awakens trapped moisture. The collapse of air pockets under the influence of butter's tenderizing effect feels like watching a gentle exhale, each bubble dissolving into a soft cushion. Quirky dream cooking forums sometimes recommend whispering affirmations to your batter before flipping. Convinced that positive vibes enhance tenderness, a fringe tidbit you tuck away with a soft smile. Light joke number 3. If only your morning alarm granted you pillow-fluffing affirmations, waking up would be a zen-like experience. You set the fork down and trace a fingertip along the pancake's fluffiest ridge. Your finger sinks in effortlessly, leaving a slight indentation that slowly rebounds as if the pancake itself were sighing in contentment. That rebound is a simple test of viscoelastic recovery. Butter's fat crystals act like tiny springs, allowing the crumb to compress and then partially recover. Mainstream rheologists study these properties to optimize baked goods, while some avant-garde bakers experiment with glycerin-infused batters to enhance elasticity, a fringe notion that sounds more like skincare than cooking. You inhale again, savoring the combination of tender texture and warming aroma. The butter's tenderization has transformed what might have been a dry, cake-like interior into a soft, almost cloud-like morsel that seems to dissolve on your tongue. This sensation triggers a release of endorphins, your brain's reward for experiencing tender, pleasurable textures, an effect food psychologists call mouthfeel-induced comfort. Meanwhile, some wellness influencers advocate a tender tongue massage by holding each bite against the roof of your mouth before swallowing, claiming it deepens the sensation, an inventive fringe practice you'll consider testing in the future. Your next forkful feels impossibly light, as if the pancake has learned to float. You remember the composition symphony of Section 2 and the heat conduction of Section 3. Now that science converges in a tender crescendo, each bite a testament to melted butter's magic. You lean back, closing your eyes, letting the tender texture settle around you like a warm blanket. With your senses fully attuned to softness and comfort, you're ready to explore Section 8's aromatic release cascade, where steam and aroma molecules will whirl together in a final sensory flourish, guiding you toward peaceful rest. You lift the pancake closer, inhaling as steam spirals from its buttery valleys in delicate ribbons that dance toward your nose. This aromatic release cascade is the final flourish of our sensory symphony, where heat and moisture conspire to carry scent molecules skyward. Mainstream sensory science tells us that steam acts as a volatile conveyor belt, whisking aroma compounds like pyrazines and lactones into the air at rates up to 10 times faster than in dry conditions. Chemists still debate whether the steam's droplet size or its temperature profile plays the dominant role in this uplift. Yet tonight, you let that question drift gently in the back of your mind. As the steam streams upward, it carries a heady bouquet of browned sugars, toasted grains, and rich dairy undertones, the Maillard byproducts mingling with butter's creamy essence. Quirky aroma aficionados sometimes sprinkle a pinch of cinnamon powder into the steam plume, convinced the spice will hitch a ride on the vapor and perfume the room, a fringe tip lacking rigorous trials but undeniably comforting to imagine. Light joke number 1: if only your office printer could emit fragrant cinnamon clouds, with every print job meetings might smell as sweet as success. You close your eyes and let the aroma envelop you, noticing how each inhalation feels like a warm hug from within. The steam carries not only volatile compounds, but also tiny water droplets that gently caress your nasal passages, enhancing scent absorption by humidifying receptors. Mainstream olfactory research notes that humid air can improve aroma detection thresholds by up to 30%, making each buttery note feel richer. Yet some home chefs claim that misting the pancake with a flavored simple syrup before breathing in intensifies the scent. But chemists still debate whether the added sugar concentrate truly amplifies aroma release or just masks subtle nuances. Your fork hovers above the pancake, and you contemplate the interplay of warm steam and cool night air. As the vapor cools, it condenses into microdroplets that carry lingering scent molecules, drifting slowly before dissipating, a visual echo of the microbubble optics from our coffee crema days. Light joke number 2: if only your inbox notifications could condense baggage and release only the essential love notes. You take a mindful breath, feeling the steam's warmth spread across your face, and you realize how intimate this aromatic cascade feels, like a private, perfumed ceremony beneath your nose. The pancake's porous structure, enriched by butter-filled crevices from Section 4, serves as a launchpad, each void acting as a microvalve that releases scent in time with the pan's cooling rhythm. Mainstream food engineers measure these release patterns to optimize aroma longevity in packaged goods. Some even design micro-perforated sachets to mimic this natural cascade. Some fringe packaging innovators have tried embedding scented microcapsules in napkins to respritz aroma as you eat. Though most critics call it a gimmick, another open debate phrase you file under fun ideas. Your senses tuned. You lean forward to inhale a deeper plume. The scent is multifaceted: the sharp sweetness of caramelized glucose, the nutty warmth of toasty proteins, and the soft dairy creaminess that only butter can provide. Together, they weave an aromatic tapestry that feels both homely and sophisticated. Fringe perfumers sometimes distill pancake steam into essential oils for breakfast colognes, though perfumery chemists still debate whether such distillations truly capture the full complexity or just a sugar-laden caricature. Light joke number 3: if only your favorite songs could be distilled into pillow sprays, sleep would be as sweet as syrup. You let your fork rest, savoring how each steam-whispered note lingers in the air like a fading melody. The pancake's steam cascade, much like the coffee's aroma bursts, creates peaks of fragrance that collide and overlap, carrying your mind toward restful reverie. Mainstream neuroscience shows that pleasant food aromas can activate the limbic system, reducing anxiety by up to 20% and promoting parasympathetic activity. Some holistic wellness coaches even recommend a steam inhalation ritual before bed, combining pancake or bread steam with chamomile extract to create a sleep-inducing vapor bath, a fringe practice you note with gentle curiosity. As the steam subsides, you notice residual moisture settling back onto the pancake's surface in fine droplets. These droplets refract the kitchen's soft light, creating miniature prisms that catch your eye. It's a final optical encore, echoing our previous lessons in light scattering and microbubble optics. Chemists still debate whether these droplets enhance perceived aroma by reflecting light into olfactory glands, an open discussion that adds a poetic layer to the science. You take a small bite, letting the tender, butter-soaked crumb meet your tongue. The taste feels enriched by the preceding aroma cascade, as if the steam and scent primed your taste buds to receive a deeper nuance. Mainstream sensory integration research confirms that olfactory priming smelling food before tasting can increase perceived flavor intensity significantly. Yet some fringe taste experimenters argue for inhaling the steam for 30 seconds before eating to maximize priming. An eccentric tip you appreciate but may not test tonight. The pancake's warmth and aroma blend into a cohesive experience: tactile heat from butter conduction, visual shimmer from Maillard crust, and fragrant wisps from the aromatic cascade. Each grain of steam that touches your skin carries not just water, but the memory of crisped edges and silky butter veins. You lean back, inhaling a final, invisible plume, and you feel a soft sigh escape your lips, a release of residual tension. You set your fork aside and watch the steam's last tendrils vanish into the night air. The pancake now rests in peaceful stillness, its aroma retreating into subtle afterglow. You feel your body respond, your shoulders drop, your mind quiets, and a gentle drowsiness begins to settle. This aromatic release cascade has been both a sensory voyage and a soft science lesson, showing how steam mediates the journey of volatile molecules from plate to perception. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the final echo of buttery fragrance guide you toward the threshold of sleep. With your senses both awakened and soothed, you're prepared for Section 9's frivolous butter rites, where playful myths and quirky rituals will add a final touch of whimsy before our ultimate wind down. You lean back and cradle your fork, ready to indulge in some frivolous butter rites, playful rituals, and fringe myths that elevate melted butter from mere spread to ceremonial elixir. Mainstream culinary historians note that ancient Romans flavored pancakes with honey and animal fat, creating early buttered cakes, so the idea of ritualizing butter has deep roots. Chemists still debate whether cultural beliefs around butter's mood-enhancing powers stem from its nutritional profile or merely from placebo effect. But tonight, you welcome each quirky rite with an open mind. First, consider the butter blessing ceremony. Some home cooks gently wave a pat of butter above the pancake in a circular motion before placing it down, believing that this motion charges the fat with good intentions. Quirky food bloggers claim that clockwise waves amplify richness, while counterclockwise gestures summon extra fluffiness, a fringe tip with zero empirical support but undeniable charm. Light joke number 1. Imagine if your morning commute could be improved by waving your car key in a magic circle. Rush hour might feel like a parade. Next, there's the whispered butter mantra, where you softly recite phrases like melt, flow, nourish, 3 times over the melting pat to align molecular energy. Proponents believe this practice, akin to kitchen meditation, enhances butter's texture and taste. Mainstream sensory experiments show that background sounds can influence taste perception. Music can make wine taste sweeter, so perhaps whispered words do modulate your senses. Yet chemists still debate whether sound vibrations at vocal frequencies materially affect emulsion structure, leaving this mantra suspended between science and serendipity. Light joke number 2, if only your to-do list could change by whispering sweet nothings to it, you'd breeze through tasks like a Zen master. Another playful theory is the butter temperature tango, which prescribes warming butter to exactly 28 degrees on your wrist before melting, arguing that skin contact calibration ensures peak fluidity. Some fringe chefs even suggest using a warm teacup as a makeshift thermometer, placing the butter atop to gauge readiness by how quickly it softens. Mainstream culinary thermodynamics confirms that small temperature variations do influence viscosity, but reliably hitting 28 degrees via wrist is more art than science. Chemists still debate the practical significance of a 1-degree difference in buttermelt behavior, yet the precise measurement ritual adds a soothing mindfulness to your process. You pause for a slow breath, enjoying the absurdity of using your body as lab equipment. Light joke number 3. If only you could gauge your brain's readiness for work with a wrist check, no more fuzzy mornings. Then there's the butter grid alignment, where cooks carve a shallow lattice into the pancake surface before spreading butter, claiming the grooves guide the fat evenly into the crumb. Fringe waffle aficionados sometimes apply the same technique to their grids, convinced the pattern optimizes capillary action. Mainstream fluid dynamics supports the idea that channel geometry influences flow rates. Microchannels can accelerate fluid uptake, yet chemists still debate whether pancake grids at the millimeter scale produce meaningful differences or merely create pleasing visuals. Still, you appreciate how carving patterns turns cooking into a mindful craft. You watch as butter follows the carved pathways, filling the lattice with amber silk. The ritual invites you to slow down, appreciate geometry, and embrace playful experimentation. Perhaps the most whimsical rite is the butter bonfire, where you briefly torch the melted pat with a small kitchen torch to create a caramelized crust before it seeps into the pancake. Quirky chefs swear this adds a smoky layer of flavor and locks in moisture, though mainstream safety experts caution against open flames so close to flammable fats. Chemists still debate whether the brief high heat alters lipid oxidation meaningfully or simply offers spectacle. But as you imagine the butter's golden crust shimmering, you feel a tingle of anticipatory delight. These butter rites, though far from rigorous science, enrich your bedtime ritual with whimsy and curiosity. They remind you that cooking is as much about play as precision, and that sometimes the fun of a quirky practice can be its own reward. You smile at the thought of future pancake sessions where you might bless, whisper, measure, grid, or torch your butter, each act a nod to creativity and tradition. You lean back, fork resting on your lip, and let these butter rites swirl in your mind like fusion of folklore and flavor. The warmth of melted butter, once a simple ingredient, now feels imbued with story and ceremony. As the last rivulets settle into pancake pores, you sense your tension dissolving, replaced by gentle amusement and anticipation for the final restful reflection. With playful spirits uplifted, you're ready for Section 10's restful butter reflection, where you'll savor the lingering melt and prepare your mind for the wind down that follows. You cradle your fork and bring it to your lips for one final restful butter reflection a moment, to honor the lingering melt and transition gently toward calm. As you inhale, you notice the pancake's surface, now cool enough that only a thin sheen of butter remains, catching the soft light like a distant memory. Mainstream sensory research tells us that residual fats on the tongue can prolong flavor perception by up to 30%, allowing you to savor buttery notes long after the last bite. Chemists still debate whether that persistence stems from lipid film thickness or molecular affinity at taste receptors. But tonight, you let the uncertainty settle like a whisper on your palate. You tip your head back and take a slow, deliberate bite of the pancake's tender interior, where butter has seeped deepest. The crumb yields softly, releasing tiny steam plumes that mingle with the last traces of melted fat. That steam, containing dissolved buttery compounds, continues to carry aroma to your nose even as you chew. Quirky mindful eaters recommend pausing for 3 seconds mid-bite to listen to the flavor's evolution, a fringe tip that turns eating into a sensory meditation. Light joke number 1: if only your meetings paused to let ideas bloom mid-conversation, brainstorming would feel infinitely more productive. As you swallow, a wave of gentle satisfaction washes over you. The butter's comforting warmth radiates through your chest, engaging thermoreceptors that signal safety and relaxation. Mainstream physiology notes that warm sensory inputs can increase parasympathetic activity and lower heart rate by up to 10%, priming you for rest. Meanwhile, some fringe wellness advocates suggest holding a warm buttered pancake against your chest as a makeshift heat pack, an idea that sounds cozy, if a bit unconventional. Chemists still debate whether topical lipid application could transfer any relaxing compounds through skin absorption, but you let that playful speculation drift away. You set down your fork and trace a fingertip along the pancake's edge, where a final smear of butter clings to the crumb. That tactile contrast, your cool fingertip against the remaining melty fat, heightens awareness of texture and temperature. Mainstream tactile studies show that contrasting sensations can deepen sensory memory, making experiences feel richer. Quirky textural therapists even advocate tactile journaling, where you record how foods feel on your skin, believing it enhances mindfulness, a fringe technique you tuck into your growing collection of nighttime rituals. Light joke number 2: if only your keyboard keys could tell you how they feel under your fingers before each late-night email, typing would be a tactile delight. You lean back and close your eyes for a gentle pause, recalling the journey through butter's science from solid to liquid wonders in Section 1 through composition symphony in Section 2, heat conduction in Section 3, golden spread, dynamics in Section 4, Maillard, emulsification in Section 5, flavor carrier mechanics in Section 6, tenderness, transformation in Section 7, aromatic release cascade in Section 8, to playful butter rights in Section 9. Each chapter has woven into this final moment, guiding you to a state of calm attention. Your breathing slows as you reflect on how a simple ingredient, melted butter, can transform not only a pancake, but your own sensory landscape. The residual fat on the pancake surface forms a thin lipid film that refracts the dim room light, creating a soft, diffuse glow that mirrors the gentle warmth in your chest. Mainstream optics notes that thin films exhibit interference patterns. Here, the pastel sheen offers a quiet reminder of the layers beneath. Chemists still debate the precise thickness required for optimal film interference, but you let the pastel shimmer soothe your thoughts. You open your eyes and look at the plate's near-empty surface, spotting a tiny, isolated droplet of butter clinging like a final treasure. You lean forward, whispering, "Good night, little droplet," as though bidding farewell to a friend. Quirky dinner guests sometimes toast at this moment, raising a fork in salute to the meal's finale, a fringe ritual that turns eating into communal celebration, even when you're alone. Light joke number 3: if only your calendar notifications ended each day with a cheery, "Good night, little notification," you'd close your laptop with a smile. You take one last mindful breath, letting your senses absorb the lingering buttery fragrance. The aroma, though faint, still carries sweet dairy notes and the ghost of toasted sugar from Maillard crevices. Mainstream olfactory studies indicate that such low-level scents can persist in a room for minutes, gently reinforcing mood. Some fringe sleep experts advocate leaving a dab of butter-scented oil on a bedside diffuser to mimic this effect. Another playful concept you consider, but decide might be best left for future curiosity. As you settle back, the plate cools quietly, and you feel a soft heaviness in your limbs that marks the threshold of relaxation. The stickiness of butter is long gone, replaced by a cozy afterglow that cradles your mind. You allow a small smile to touch your lips, grateful for this simple, sensory-rich journey. In this restful reflection, you honor how melted butter's lingering presence on tongue, in aroma, and across the pancake's surface has carried you to a place of calm awareness. You release any lingering tension, as though wiping that final smear of fat from your fingertips, letting peace settle in its wake. Now, you're ready for the wind down that follows a final embrace of soft words and silence to ease you into sweet dreams. Breathe slowly. Feel the gentle warmth lingering in your chest, a soft ember from the buttery journey you've savored. Each breath carries the faint scent of melted butter and toasted sugar, weaving a comforting lullaby around your senses. Allow your thoughts to drift like feather-light crumbs floating on still water. No need to grasp them, simply observe as they rise and settle, each one dissolving into quietude. You are held by the moment, cocooned in the afterglow of simple pleasures and gentle science. Imagine the pancake's last droplet of butter, suspended in time, reflecting soft pastel light before merging with your memory. Let that image blend with the hush of night, creating a serene landscape inside your mind. You are supported, safe, and deeply relaxed. Feel your body soften, your shoulders release, your jaw unclenches, and your heartbeat slows to a tranquil rhythm. You are grounded in peace, carried by the warmth that once flowed through your breakfast and now flows through every breath. Trust this calm. It whispers that it's okay to rest, to let go of today's tasks, and to embrace the quiet waiting in the dark. With each moment, you descend further into a serene haze, where only gentle thoughts remain. Let the final echo of buttery aroma fade into a soft haze, a warm memory beneath the quiet. As the night unfolds, know that this sensory voyage has readied you for deep, restorative sleep. Now, dim your mind as you've dimmed the lights. Let silence weave its gentle magic. Sweet dreams await, drifting on the wings of warmth and calm.